the performance speaks for itself. The knockout.
When did you know the fight was over? I mean, could you kind of tell?
When it started crying.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to drop scripture first before we go into that right there. If you don't like it, leave my channel. And it came to pass about 8 days after he said that some of you standing here will not taste death till you see the kingdom of God, that he took Peter and John and James, he being Jesus, and went up into a mountain to pray. And as he prayed, the fashion of his face was changed, and his raiment was white and shining very brightly. And behold, there talked with him 2 men. One name was Moses, and the other's name was Elisha, who appeared in glory and spake of his decease and what he should accomplish at Jerusalem. But Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep. But then they were awakened by this transformation, and they saw his glory and the 2 men that stood with him. And it came to pass, as they disappeared from him, that's the 2 men, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 tabernacles, or 3 temples. One for you, one for Moses, and one for Elisha. He didn't know what on earth he was saying. While he was speaking, there came a cloud and overshadowed them, and they got afraid. As they entered into the cloud, there came a voice out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. And when the voice was finished, Jesus was found alone. And they kept it close to themselves, and told no man in those days any of those things which they saw. You know, because we don't see certain things doesn't mean they don't exist. The spirit realm is very, very real. Spirit just simply means that which is invisible. And just because you don't see it don't mean it's not there. It's like air, right? You breathe air, right? You don't see air, right? But it doesn't mean it's not there. And basically Jesus opened the eyes of the 3 guys that were there with him, John and Peter, James, and they were able to see who he really was. If you think about the Matrix and when Neo was able to see the code, when you think of when something is what we call transfigured, okay, they call it the Mount of Transfiguration. When something is transfigured, you see it for what it really is. And they were able to see the Messiah or the Christ for who he really was. They were able to see him with spiritual eyes, and that stuff was intense. Okay, it was intense stuff. And Peter started talking a whole bunch of crap because he was so stupefied, right? Now my point anyway is this, that nothing is what it appears to be. Everything is governed by things which you can't see. So just remember that. Think about it this way. If you love your children, then that love for your children is what governs what you do next. Now the love itself, you can't see it. You may see love in things that you do which are out of love, but you never see love. So I'm trying to tell you, invisible things govern the visible. And when the invisible things are made visible, they are very intense and they're very powerful. So I want to say to you guys the following things. Jesus is love. God is love. So if you're on the side of love, as much as it may seem that you are looking like a weak person, you're looking like someone who other people can just abuse, love is much more powerful than all that stuff, okay? Jesus was beaten on the cross. With all of that power that he had, he came and you heard Moses and Elijah was talking to him about his death in Jerusalem and how it would go about. So with all that power he had, that had everybody else stupefied and afraid, he didn't use the power to destroy mankind. He used his power in love to save mankind. Okay? And in fact, he was beaten and all kinds of things. He looked like a real weakling, right? So love is powerful, okay? And you may look like stupidity and a weakling. I sometimes cow to pride and animosity. Like I just speaked off a dude just a minute ago, and that's not necessary. Real love doesn't need to do that. You don't need to go toe to toe with someone, especially to beat them down. This doesn't make no sense. Love is not something that just wants to beat down other things. If people want to leave the presence of love and they want to go their own way, that's a different story. But love is not that. Alright guys, let's talk about this video here with Terence Crawford's immediate reaction to Andre Ward's knockout of Sergey Kovalev. Real quick, I really appreciate the boxers who understand the sweet science. I was listening to Paulie Malignaggi's interview with Andre Ward as well, and it's all about the sweet science. And unfortunately, the sweet science today seems to be how you can turn a punch and how you can knock out someone. And they don't understand, a lot of people don't understand the sweet science of boxing. Andre Ward broke Sergey Kovalev in that fight. That's what happened. He broke him. Yes, he damaged him to the body, but he broke him mentally as well as physically, as Andre Ward explained to Paulie Malignaggi. Certain things he did in that ring were to send a signal to Sergey Kovalev that he's fine, while Sergey Kovalev was fading. And so Sergey Kovalev quit. Literally, mentally, he quit, and he was looking for a way out of the fight. Even though he was fighting back, he was really looking for a way out. And you heard Terence Crawford say something that indicated what was happening in Sergey Kovalev's mind. When you heard Terence Crawford say, when he started to make excuses, he knew the fight was over, it's because Sergey Kovalev started complaining about low blows. If you do remember the fight with Floyd Mayweather and Marcos Maidana, the same thing happened. Marcos Maidana complained of a low blow because it wasn't a low blow, Floyd hit him, but it was because he was looking for a way out. He was looking for some way, as a savvy veteran, to get out of the fight. So you bite Floyd, you do all these crazy things just to buy time. For those people who understand boxing, who have boxed before, they know body punching. You listen to Bermain Stavern, you hear him say body punching is one of the worst things. Boxers don't like body punches. You can take a punch to the head and all of that because you got the skull and everything, but a body punch, there's no ribs, there's no bone structure to protect that soft tissue inside of there. So when you hit somebody, say to the liver or to the spleen area, that don't feel too good. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of boxers, they can withstand it and they can stand up for a while, but if you keep on going to the body, inside fighters know about that. So Andre Ward, he can inside fight a bit. And that's the reason why he was able to be so successful against Sergey Kovalev. Like I said, it was going to be round 13 and just go on and beat Sergey Kovalev. I predicted this fight would have ended with Andre stopping Sergey. I predicted that would happen because I saw him in round 9 of the last fight. I saw him basically knock Sergey into the ropes. And I knew, okay, this dude, he can stop Sergey. And Sergey didn't like the punches to the body at all. And as much as Sergey may have trained and all of that, Andre knew he was soft to the body. Went right back there. So at the end of the day, I like that it's about the sweet science, thinking boxers. Now I listened to a lot of people say that, and again, there was a lot of hate against Floyd Mayweather, who is like probably the best at doing this. They talked about he is a smart boxer, and a lot of people talk about stick and move a lot with Floyd. They don't understand Floyd does body punching very, very well. He hits you with one punch, and people say he's so accurate. The guys who spar him, he's so clinically accurate with his punches. It's not just his accuracy and his power, but he has a certain intention. When he hits you with a particular punch, it's because he wants a certain effect on you. He wants to wear you down in a certain place. And so people do not understand how good this boxer is, Floyd Mayweather. The other thing people underestimate is what we call being in position and being out of position. And Andre Ward is able to find position on Sergey Kovalev before Sergey Kovalev could find position in Ward. It wasn't that Sergey Kovalev wasn't trying hard. He was throwing a lot of shots at Andre Ward. He was missing a lot because Andre Ward, he would shift out of position just slightly enough to counter Sergey Kovalev while Sergey Kovalev was mounting his offense. Terence Crawford understands this. Floyd Mayweather understands this. Floyd Mayweather is probably the master at doing that. He's standing right in front of you, and you think you have him in that angle, but he's really slightly out of position, and then he moves himself slightly out of position to counter you. So he sets you up. He sets what we call a trap. So when you're coming in on him, and then Floyd's defense is just excellent, and then he mixes that defense with his offense, and that's how he's able to counterpunch you at will. I mean, at will he counterpunches you. Now, a lot of fighters, they're able to mount beautiful pieces of offense. But in doing so, when they do all those fancy nice things and they find the gaps and they're doing their offense, if somebody adjusts their defense a little bit, they get their defense a little bit up, then they can counterpunch those guys. It's not the same with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is always either pivoting out of the way or he's pivoting at an angle to you so that when you start to mount your offense on him, he changes up the game. And the other thing with Floyd is he's able to make adjustments. Floyd is a guy, he can make an adjustment to whatever you are bringing to the table. So if you bring something to the table, Floyd is able to adjust that and bring it to the table. Bring something different. And that's the difference with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward and Terence Crawford, they still take a little while to make their adjustments, right? And they have certain little tricks of the trade. They have Terence, he can switch to southpaw and stuff like that. Floyd is different. Floyd make an adjustment to you, he tabulate the data, and you're not going to hit him again with the same punch twice. Floyd just he says it's a matter of inches. He slightly adjusts his body to make sure he's got certain things out of the way. So you're never really quite in position to land a punch on Floyd, which is why Marcus McDonough in the second fight, he was not at all effective against Floyd Mayweather, except for the third round, I think it was. And in the first fight, he was able to be somewhat effective against Floyd, especially earlier on in the fight, because Floyd hadn't made the adjustments yet. And the other thing is Floyd decided he was going to stand up to Marcus McDonough, not pick him from the outside and then sometimes at mid-range pick him at a certain angle. No, he decided I'm going to stay in the pocket and fight this dude. And he never backed down. He just stayed right in front of him. He was always right in front of him, fighting him. So Floyd decided to fight him a certain way. When it comes to Mayweather, therefore, people say, oh, you got to find somebody with an IQ like Floyd, and if you fight Floyd with a certain IQ, you know, you can beat him, and it just needs smart fighters to beat him, and Erislandy Lara would beat Floyd. Erislandy Lara stands no chance against Floyd Mayweather. Zero chance. All right? I know you guys feel that an intelligent fighter would beat Floyd. Who's as intelligent as Floyd? Everybody agrees he's the smartest boxer ever. That's what Roy Jones Jr. gave him. Why? Because he made a ton of money outside of the ring, and inside of the ring, the dude knows exactly what to do to you because he gathers his data on you, and he knows exactly what to do to you to get that W. Okay? So, guys like Floyd Mayweather, you're not going to beat them. All right? You're not just going to beat Floyd Mayweather. It's not easy. Besides his defense, which is pretty good, it's his defense melded to his offense. That's the problem with Floyd Mayweather. His offense is melded into his defense. He got both of them. And ain't nobody in the history of boxing that quite had that combination the way how Floyd has it. So that, you know, where a referee would be able to say, okay, this guy like Pernell Whitaker when he was fighting against Oscar De La Hoya, they gave the nod to Oscar, right? He beat Pernell, even though Pernell dropped him and stuff. That's because Oscar was still able to get Pernell not to throw punches. Pernell wasn't throwing a whole bunch of punches, right? He got Pernell to stop and shut down. All Pernell was doing was defense. He wasn't throwing nothing. It don't work that way with Floyd. You come in and you say you're going to try and outbox Floyd like Oscar was doing. That's why Oscar lost to Floyd, because he didn't even understand what Floyd was doing. He was confused almost half the way through the fight, because when his usual flurries would have worked against some other opponent, he was hitting air when he was coming to Floyd, and he was getting countered. I mean, he was getting countered stupid. Okay? That's the difference. Floyd will be watching you throwing flurries. He wait for you to empty the tank, and then he comes back with his counterpunching. He comes back with his flurries. He comes back with his offense. He makes sure you tired first, and then he hits you in specific areas on your body. Okay? Specific spots on your body. And the goal of hitting you in specific spots is to wear you down. Floyd is that boxer that you look at. And boxers, they clinically break down a fighter. Now, the difference between Floyd and any other boxer in history, his conditioning is ridiculous. And when I say he's got ridiculous conditioning, you got to understand, Floyd can take up his punch rate if he needs to. He can take up his game and still be clinical and still be throwing a lot of punches. Or he can slow down the pace and the tempo of a fight so that he can get his punches in a certain kind of way. Floyd will make the adjustments to whatever his opponent does, and that is why Floyd is the greatest of the sweet science people. Alright, you look at him technically, watch and see. Technically, he's way on point. Now, everybody talks about Lomachenko. I don't mean to disrespect Lomachenko, but he just a checkers player, man. Compared to Floyd, he's a checkers player. He's nice, he's sweet to look at, but he can't make the adjustments. He gets hit too easily. He can't make the adjustments like Floyd. Right? Salido beat him because Salido was able to put that Marcos Maidana pressure on him, and he didn't know what to do. He was tough, but he was getting hit up like if he was, it was like a joke. All right. And Lomachenko was good, but he had to depend on his southpaw stance. He's depending on his southpaw stance, the weak side attack. That's the thing Lomachenko depend on. All right. He's fine as hell, but he ain't no Floyd. Floyd would beat him. Floyd would beat him and beat him bad. Beat him bad, make him look ordinary. And I know that sounds terrible to hear, because y'all have been thinking, you think about Lomachenko a certain way, especially how he just started off in the pros, and he ain't even in, I don't think he's even made double-digit fights yet, right? Hell of a fighter. Guillermo Rigondeaux. Guillermo Rigondeaux got that timing, he got that spacing, he got that kind of Floyd-like movement. He watches a distance. He really is he is like a snake. He can strike you at a certain angle, strike you at a certain distance. He ain't no Floyd Mayweather. He ain't no Floyd Mayweather. Them 49 fights was a lot of experience Floyd had, and he fought the best of the best in 49 fights. And I think at different weight classes as well. He had adjusted weight. And it wasn't just about power. Early on in his career it was power because he was in a weight class that he could really steamroll the other guys, and he was still the smaller guy in that weight class. But when he moved up, remember, this kid came from super featherweight. Okay, he's not. People don't understand these things. He's not a big dude. Think of Henry Armstrong. Came all the way up from featherweight, all right, and did what he did, and fought at welterweight. He stopped at welterweight and he fought at welterweight. Basically, he was a welterweight for the rest of his life. He ain't no big dude. You know what I'm saying? He even fought at super welterweight like Floyd. So I'm just saying that Floyd's that kind of dude, but he's just that good that he was able to do all of that stuff and do it very, very well. Okay? So I like that I heard these guys discuss the sweet science. So I decided to do this video for you guys to check it out, because this is the sweet science. This is not about how much power you have, how you can turn a punch in, and rubbish like that. And telling me about, Sugar Ray Robinson would have killed Floyd because he could have punched. Like, please, Ninja, please explain to me how Sugar Ray Robinson would beat Floyd if Floyd been beating punches all his career. I mean, if Floyd been beating punches all his career, then how on earth would Sugar Ray Robinson beat Floyd? It ain't happening, right? So, I mean, when we look at Mayweather and what he has done in his career, those of you who can't say that he is the best ever at it, that's your problem. He didn't get a whole bunch of knockouts. This is the major thing that all these haters had. Oh, he can knock nobody out, but he being beaten now. Willie Pep ain't no knockout artist. Willie Pep got a ridiculously low knockout ratio. Hey, talking about that, Sugar Ray Robinson and Floyd got the same knockout ratio. And let's not even talk about how many bums Sugar Ray Robinson actually beat to pad up that, Yeah, he fought some good fighters too. Don't get me wrong. Some very good fighters, some legendary fighters. Beat some, lost to some. But at the end of the day, Sugar Ray Robinson has a padded record. If you guys want to say, oh yeah, well, Floyd didn't fight. He had a padded record. Are you serious? When you talk about Julio Cesar Chavez, of his 89 fights, was it 89? I don't know. Yeah, of his 89 fights or 90 fights, whatever it was, that a whole bunch of them not supposed to even be in the ring with the dude. And they'd be like, oh, but he was trying to get experience. But the point is, you can't compare 89-0 to 49-0. It's just not the same. Yeah, Floyd had a couple of those little fruitcakes early in his career as well. Little padded up stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to look at this thing and you have to do it objectively. Andre Ward. You look at the caliber of opposition Andre Ward had. And then you want to put Lomachenko ahead of him? Gennady Golovkin ahead of him? Who the hell did Gennady Golovkin beat? See what I'm saying? Who did he beat? He beat Daniel Jacobs. Barely. You can say Daniel Jacobs beat him. You can argue that if you want to. That's up to you. He got the W on that, right? That's what counts. He got the W. That's his best win. It's a hell of a win, but it's his best win. Okay? You look at Andre Ward. He fought with Danny Jacobs so many years ago. We got Chad Dawson. We got we got tons of Danny Jacobs. We got Chad Dawson. We got that Cuban dude at light heavyweight. Okay? We have some scrappy dudes too. Some really dirty scrappy dudes. Okay? And then we got guys that are just legendary. From Froch to Kessler to whoever. Just legendary fighters, right? My point anyway is this. If you want to talk about Andre Ward and say somehow Gennady Golovkin is your pound for pound number one, what is your criteria for it? Is it that he's more sensational than Andre Ward? Because Andre Ward just stopped Sergey Kovalev. He stopped him. Is that more sensational? Danny Jacobs, Gennady Golovkin didn't stop Danny Jacobs. Andre Ward fought a guy bigger than him. He moved up a weight class to fight this dude. Okay? Stronger than him. You saw the guy pushing Andre Ward around the ring. Right? When it's time for wrestling. He was bigger and he's stronger than him. And Ward stopped him. Okay? He stopped him. Does Gennady Golovkin want to do a rematch with Danny Jacobs and show that he can stop Danny Jacobs? That's the same thing. It's equivalency right there. Because he had a close fight with Danny Jacobs. Ward had a close fight with Sergey Kovalev. The difference is Ward was moving up a weight class to face Sergey Kovalev, who was a known knockout artist. Gennady Golovkin was fighting a guy in his weight class. For Gennady Golovkin to be higher rated than Andre Ward, he would have to rematch Danny Jacobs, knock him out, and then go up in weight class and do the same thing to somebody in a higher weight class, preferably super welterweight, super middleweight. See what I'm saying? But we all know, and everybody knows, it's about the great white hope stuff. White people want to see somebody like themselves win and do well. And even if they can fight a black person and beat them, we know what it is. Everybody knows what it is. Okay? Let's not pretend. Okay? Now, I don't have a problem with a white person wanting to see a white person dominate in the sports. Somebody like myself. I want to identify. Wonder Woman on the television screen. Women get to identify with a powerful superhero. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have such a thirst that you're gonna twist reality, you're gonna overhype a fighter, you're gonna overpraise a fighter who does not deserve that praise, that's where we have a problem. That's where we have a problem. Alright? If you want a great white hope, let him be legit. Lomachenko's proven that he is what he is. He's proven that. Alright? Ain't nobody can say that he ain't good because he's beaten names. He's beaten real people. And he really putting on the beating on those guys. He's showing that he is what he is. You got to give him his props. And everybody. If you want to talk, Sergey Kovalev proved that he is what he is. He beat the best in his division. He beat Bernard Hopkins and Jean Pascal. These are not joke names. Okay? These guys have been world champions. And Jean Pascal never been stopped. Okay, and he stopped him twice. So you got to give Sergey Kovalev his props, and he could box a bit. He wasn't just a knockout artist like one of his trainers was saying. You know, all he just about is knocking out. Nope. You know, Kovalev decided to try and finish the job earlier, and he paid the price for it. He got stopped. He's a tough guy, but he gets stopped. And he would have gotten stopped even worse if that fight went on a little longer. It's a sweet science, folks. It's not just brawn. It's not just power. It's not about overpowering your opponent. You know, people talk about the days of Sugar Ray Robinson. Oh, he used to overpower his opponents and slam dunk them with punches. Those days are gone, folks. The athletes today are just so much stronger than the athletes of yesteryear. Better stamina, better nutrition. They treat their bodies better. Alright? You got to remember, pay attention to what I'm saying. Andrew Ward is smaller than Sergey Kovalev. No matter what y'all guys say, Sergey Kovalev is the bigger, stronger dude of the two of them. He knocked him out. Remind me of what Timothy Bradley did to Brandon Rios. He was a tough guy. Nobody expected Brandon Rios to get knocked out by Timothy Bradley. Bradley never knocked out nobody in a long, long time. But it's the sweet science. It's the sweet science. Andrew Ward's not known as a knockout artist, but he got the knockout when he needed it. It's the sweet science. Alright? You guys have a great one.